Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest gaming news with your host, V-Gaming Junkie. The dross got split down the middle instead of 70-30, so there's nothing but pure gaming-related meatiness. It is all about that electronic good stuff as we dive deep into all that's new in the various interactive virtual worlds. It would seem that Activision has been listening to the backlash regarding Overwatch 2 requiring a phone number to play. Taking this in mind, they've made the decision to require the same thing for the remake of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Yep, you heard that right, they've opted to completely ignore the backlash. Also, VoIP and prepaid numbers won't work for this one either. They must really want to anger their player base. Do they not realize that this is going to lead to people maybe not wanting to play their game? Overwatch 2 was bad enough being free to play, but this is a paid-for game that will require this. GameSpot admitted this is going to hit the poorest people the hardest. Do you plebs not have phones? The one silver lining here is that Overwatch 2 will be waiving the policy if you played Overwatch 1 and have a connected account. Otherwise, I guess you can suck on a limit or something because they don't care about you. There are better ways to deal with hackers or even those who might hurt other people's feelings a lot better than this. I thought it was a little questionable that Team Fortress 2 locked off the chat for people with a free-to-play account, but this is just ridiculous. At least with TF2, you could get a tiny cosmetic or something and get around it. You didn't need a subscribed phone plan. It's a real shame because I might have been curious to try Overwatch 2 at least if they didn't pull a stunt like this. Guess it's back to TF2 and single-player games for me. And speaking of companies responding to backlash, Twitch responds to the controversial revenue split. For those who don't know, Twitch's split is 50-50. Given that YouTube's is 70-30, that has more than a few people not very pleased about it. Despite having the backing of Amazon, Twitch claims it can't handle a 70-30 split and needs to keep it where it is. Given that YouTube can not only handle the 70-30 split but actually allows most content creators to stream at a higher resolution than Twitch, I find that hard to believe. Twitch may not be nearly as big as YouTube is, but it's not like they're a mom-and-pop video streaming service either. Given the many other things surrounding Twitch like Dr. Disrespect straight up being Thanos snapped for no reason and the kind of double standards with things they promote, this isn't helping them. I've said it before that I think Twitch is significantly worse than YouTube or Facebook gaming, and they haven't exactly been proving me wrong on that front. If YouTube can make it work, I think Twitch can make it work too. At the very least, they should actually start proving they give a crap about the regular users. The one that aren't showing off their bodies to get ahead, and that goes for male and female streamers. But then I don't really have high hopes for Twitch moving forward. Maybe they'll surprise me, but it seems like they've been circling the drain. Given how easily some high-profile streamers were going to abandon them for places like Mixer, it shows how desperate they are for alternatives. At the moment though, I still think YouTube is the better option, and not just because I'm using them right now. And so a UK regulator is taking issue with Microsoft's purchase of Activision Blizzard. Their concerns are that Microsoft might withhold content from the company from Sony and it may harm them and other subscription offerings. If you ask me though, it seems a touch hypocritical given that all companies withhold content from each other. We're to the point that game consoles are basically just weak or closed off PCs, exclusives are basically all they have anymore. Well, to an extent also being relatively cheap, but all of them want as many exclusives as possible. Sony themselves has profited off of timed exclusives like Stray and the Final Fantasy VII reimagining. Mind you, Stray did also come on PC, but I mean timed exclusives as in not on other game consoles, their primary competition. The CMA even argued hypotheticals like that Activision's games might have gone to other subscription centers eventually had this deal not happened. That seems a little silly to argue, well, it could have happened, but it can't now, but that's just me. Naturally, Microsoft did respond to this, denying suggestions of unfair competition. They even claimed that every Call of Duty player on PlayStation could switch to Xbox and his player base would still be significantly larger. Obviously, I can't say how true that is. Ultimately, I'm not pro-exclusives in general. I think as many gamers should experience these games as possible. Artificially locking down software to artificially increase demand for your hardware just seems like a cop-out to me. I think they should market their hardware on the basis of it just having better hardware than the competition and maybe better first-party titles like with Nintendo. That being said, all of this seems highly hypocritical and Sony is in no position to talk when they've been benefiting off of exclusive content of all kinds for years. If you want things to be fair, Sony, then maybe allow full crossplay with Xbox and give up all the exclusive stuff to games that you don't personally own. Somehow though, I get the feeling Sony has no plans to actually do this, nor would they have any problems blocking off content to Xbox if they were the ones owning Activision. So Decentraland, basically a metaverse project with virtual real estate, sure is going well. With a market cap of $1.2 billion, you'd imagine millions of users to be using its services, or at least a very significant amount. Well, according to DAP Radar, the amount of active users over a period of 24 hours is an astonishing 38. Yep, that's how much they claim are actually active on the system. Naturally, Decentraland disagrees and says that it isn't counting people logging in to chat and interact. Honestly though, given the virtual real estate is supposed to be the meat and potatoes of it, that's probably pretty important. If the overwhelming majority are in fact using it as a glorified social media, that's probably not very promising for it. Moreover, even their claim of 8,000 users seems pretty remarkably low. Given how expensive this virtual real estate can be in the literal thousands of dollars and its value is only theoretical, I could probably see why most would actively avoid making deals on it. The graphics aren't exactly mind-blowing either. It looks extremely retro, like N64 retro. If you wanted a virtual home, there are many options that are much better and come free with a video game such as Skyrim, The Sims, or Fallout 4. Heck, Minecraft probably gives you a lot more freedom with that plot of land, and it's an entire massive world if you're going for single player. If it's meant purely as a monetary investment, then it seems like it's built on a deck of cards that could collapse at any moment. That's just me though. Maybe there are some people out there who really believe in the future of Decentraland. If you're one of them, feel free to let me know in the comments below what you see in it. It looks like Valve may have made a little bit of an error in one of their trailers. Specifically, during a section mentioning a more stable offline mode, they accidentally included a specific icon. Anyone who knows about the emulation scene will recognize the Yuzu icon as being an emulator, and not just any emulator either. Valve actually included in their official trailer a Nintendo Switch emulator. It's no secret that people have been showing off how well the Steam Deck can emulate Nintendo Switch games, something Nintendo themselves are obviously not very happy about. After all, it gives people even less of a reason to use a Switch potentially, since they can technically play the games on the deck instead. Obviously, I would never advocate for piracy or the like. You should get your games legally. That being said, if you wanted to make a backup of your legally acquired game, I won't tell anyone. Obviously, in order to avoid Nintendo's wrath, Valve swiftly privated the video and replaced it with an icon to Portal 2 instead. Which is actually pretty fitting because the Steam Deck can serve as a portal into the Nintendo Switch's library. All joking aside, I'll reiterate that I don't endorse piracy. This is just an amusing news story, so please don't assume otherwise, okay, Nintendo? In other news, a lost pilot for a Kingdom Hearts cartoon was found. It isn't anything especially potent, mind you. It's basically akin to a storyboard more than anything. It is an interesting plot, though, showing Riku being convinced to help the villains to get to his friends and get back on their home. Sora, meanwhile, was chosen by King Mickey as a hero against the Heartless, despite Sora's reluctantness. They meet in the Cave of Wonders. Riku insists everything went cold when he picked up the lamp like he had been possessed, and he's promptly grabbed by a shadow arm. Given how relatively simplistic the storyboard is, it's hard to say what style the show would have ultimately gotten. If it would have been purely a hand-drawn or went with something more CGI like the games. Ultimately though, I think a cartoon about Kingdom Hearts is relatively pointless. It could work if it delved into the more mundane parts of their world, but the pilot was more action-centric. For that reason, it's nothing I feel the games couldn't do better, even the PS2 original. Probably the only time Kingdom Hearts was arguably compromised enough for that to be beneficial was on the GBA, and even that had a pretty impressive FMV on it. 358 over 2 days was very impressive for DS standards, not to mention Birth by Sleep for PSP. I thought 3 did a fairly impressive job imitating the look of the more modern CGI movies in their respective worlds, and 4 looks to raise the quality even more. What I'm saying is there's really no reason to have a cartoon or a movie or what have you of Kingdom Hearts. Anything you'd actually want to tell, you can easily tell in the games, and we've reached the point where it can be done with graphical quality about on par 2. Still though, it's interesting to look on things like this and witness a piece of history, even if it's a cancelled project. In other news, the producer of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie actually does something unthinkable in the movies industry. He actually had the nerve to compliment fans for taking issue with the initial design. I know, it's kinda scary. Nowadays, you don't see that anymore. It's far more common to see actors and directors and everyone else blaming fans and complaining about them. It seems Tim Miller is a rare example of a classy individual because he said it was the luckiest horrible thing that could happen. He said it allowed the fans to have the ability to feel heard and have a say in how the film shapes up. Ow. Okay, I'm definitely not dreaming. This is actually real. Even if their first design for Sonic obviously missed the mark, they were trying too hard to make it believable and slammed right into the uncanny valley, their reaction to it was correct. If you're obviously taking things in the wrong direction and the people who are actually going to be paying into it aren't happy, then maybe you should listen to them. Screaming at them and accusing them of horrific things isn't going to endear them to you or your vision. A little humility goes a long way, but we're going to need a lot of needles to let the air out of all these blimp-sized egos floating around Hollywood. This next news story really gives new meaning to the phrase inking their splat zones. A group of VTubers had a very interesting idea of a competition for Splatoon 3. You see, they chroma keyed out the color of the opponent's ink color. What that means is, whenever the color is displayed, it's automatically blanked out to expose video on a different layer. In this case, the green screen effect is used for some very naughty adult videos. The idea was to cover as much area in your ink as possible so it chroma keys it and gets the other streamers banned. It's kind of weird competing to get each other banned. I wouldn't be surprised if everyone involved got the ban hammer. Well, it definitely got them attention. Apparently it got adult video Splatoon trending on Twitter. And of course, the tag is now full of more innocent videos chroma keyed instead. Nintendo didn't exactly find this amusing, reminding people on the Japanese Twitter account of the guidelines for streaming and sharing videos of their content. They didn't flat out reference it, but the timing can't possibly be a coincidence. I imagine if you wanted to do a version of this that's less raunchy, you could just make it something copywritten and see who gets flagged for that first. All I'm saying is making it a Rickroll would be hilarious, never gonna give you up. Either way, this has definitely proven to be a very interesting news story. And as always, straight out of the oven of Games Radar, it's time for the latest batch of release dates. The 17th just has Destiny's Sword for PC, while the 18th begins with A Plague Tale Requiem for PC, Series X, PS5, and Switch, as well as Amberial Dreams for PC. It wraps up with Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox, Marvel Snap for PC, and Them's Fightin' Herds for PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. The 19th begins with The Last Hero of Nostalgia for PC and Xbox, The Last Worker for PC, and Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection for PC. It wraps up with The Valiant for PC, while the 20th begins with Batora Lost Haven for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. It continues with Hell Is Others for PC, The Jackbox Party Part 9 for the 6 major platforms, and Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope for Switch. It wraps up with Warhammer 40,000 Shoot Us Blood and Teeth for the 6 major platforms. Finally, the 21st has Gotham Knights for PC, PS5, and Series X, New Tales from the Borderlands for the 6 major platforms, and Persona 5 Royal for PC, PS5, Xbox, and Switch. This week's epic freebie until next Thursday is, interestingly enough, just Toe Jam and Earl back in the groove. No 2-for-1s here, although it does sound very interesting. Basically, it's about hip-hop and jam, and it's a casual roguelite. Never mind, Epic added a second freebie named Dark Wood, which is a survival horror scavenger. Pick it up before next Thursday. And that concludes the news broadcast as always. I hope you found it entertaining and informative. If you good people want more content, I Let's Play every single day at high noon, live stream Mondays and Thursdays unless otherwise specified at 4:30 p.m., and I do news videos like this one every Friday at 6 p.m. All in Eastern Standard Time, of course. If you're a real junkie for all things gaming like I am, then feel free to hit that subscribe and bell icon to get your next fix. A like and a comment are always appreciated for that engagement, but I just hope you genuinely enjoyed yourself, and that is it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. Spread this video around like Splatoon paint, and I'll see you next time. Capitalize on life, peace out, have a good one, and I'll see you next time.